Race 2B is about to get underway here for the second day at Pembrey Circuit, and the sun is still shining. But more curiously, I'm about to go ask Will Hayden, who's starting out in second position, why is there an upside-down Ali Bray in his car? Will, what's going on with the car?
Brake pedal's a little bit soft, and I don't really want to be going into turn one, so we're just adjusting it a little bit so I can get around the corner, basically.
Well, that would be useful. Are you thinking you're still going to be able to make it out?
Yeah, I should be able to make it out. Just if we can't adjust the pedal, then it's going to be a real tough race for me to be able to compete. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah.
Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Cheers,
right.
Thanks.
Following on for that, we're going to hand it straight over to Andy to see if Will makes it out and see what all the action is.
Yeah, thanks, Lyndsay. Well, it looks like he is out there then on the front row. The grid put a soft brake pedal, the last thing you need here at Pembrey. Richard Baxter, William Hayden, Scott Leach, Matt Luff and Dave Turton are your drivers that got demoted from the A race after race one, so they start at the front of the B grid. Alan Hawkins just missing out on a promotion spot in that frenetic first race. Outside the top 10, Oliver Robinson and Christopher Ginn looking to try and improve positions if they can. And there were a few retirements from the previous race as well, and they fill out the bottom positions on the grid. Not sure whether Chris Malloy will be there after that hefty whack that he gave the pit wall in yesterday's first B race. The grey car then of Richard Baxter on the pole position, William Hayden alongside him, and then the blue and yellow of Scott Leach ahead of Matt Luff and Dave Turton, both of whom non-finished their first A race. Away we go, 20 minutes of racing here in race 2B at Pembrey is underway, and the white car of William Hayden seems to have got a good launch. He's going wheel to wheel here with the pole sitter Richard Baxter, the 72 of Matt Luff, arguably one of the favourites coming into this race. He's trying to charge through the middle of the grid as well, but it's going to be Baxter that leads them. Round the outsides going Alan Hawkins, three abreast, Matt Luff in the middle. Someone's going to end up on the grass surely, and it's Hawkins who gets a touch from Luff as well for his troubles. On board with Bruce Robinson now, who had a scary spin in the first B race coming out of the right-hander at Woodlands after contact from another car. Number 3 is Richard Wootton. He started off towards the back of the grid. He's passed 3 or 4 cars already, and he's going for another place now, the inside there towards the S's. Of course, Richard was an early non-finisher in race 1B as well. Big lockups there as the drivers descend upon the S's for the first time of asking. 74 there going around the outside line is Clive Chisnall. He was another driver who was involved in most of the midfield battles in the previous race, but we saw top 5 positions changing hands frequently in the opener, and we're going to see the same again here. Richard Wootton, I reckon, could continue to make progress towards that top 5 maybe, because he's just gone up the inside and gained another position at the expense of Richard Bartlett there. So Richard Wootton, the black number 3 car, look at that, he was second to last on the grid, and he's passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars already by my reckoning. There is another one, or a couple of the AB Motorsport cars. Number 80, first of all, is Jack Wilmot, who had a spin in the previous race. Still streaming through though at the end of the opening lap, of the second B race of the day, and one of the AB Motorsport cars is way off on the grass further back, whilst another one, Matt Luff, towards the front of the field, is having a rather more pleasant time of it. He's just got past Will Hayden, so Will Hayden down another spot now. I think that's 4th position, so if he loses one more, he will be out of the promotion spots. Richard Baxter, therefore, is still your race leader, but Scott Leach has gone through into 2nd place, and that possibly is what triggered the loss of positions there for Will Hayden, as he is down to 4th, so he needs to try and make sure that he doesn't lose too many more. He's going to lose another one now, I think, towards the S's, isn't he? Because there's, is that Dave Turton up the inside? Yes, it was, and in fact, he goes straight on. So William Hayden, well, he said that he had that soft brake pedal, and I wonder whether or not that's what's just come back to bite him again, because he runs straight off the road and now does definitely fall out of the top 5. So Dave Turton, who was a non-finisher from the first A race with mechanical troubles, came into the pit lane with a lot of smoke emanating from the back of the car. He's into 4th position now in the first B race, and Charles Mugglestone, I think that is the black car, that's into 5th ahead of Nick Ledoyen and Alan Hawkins, and these 3 at one point or another were all in promotion spots in the first B race and then got shuffled down the order, and they're now fighting to try and get back to the top 5 in this one. And Nick Ledoyen loses 1 place to Alan Hawkins, and now has got one of the Robinsons, that must have been Oliver Robinson there, trying to get up the inside of him into the final turn. Matt Luff, meanwhile, goes 2nd ahead of Scott Leach, and Matt Luff, who we did expect, as I say, to do fairly well in this race. He was in the A group to start with, and actually had qualified fairly well up the order, 17th on the grid. Dave Turton actually was 18th as well, so those two should be fairly evenly matched in this race, but Luff is making better progress early on here. He's 2nd, whilst Turton is 4th, somewhere behind this leading trio. So Luff, arguably your pre-race favourite here. We said that at the start, and he's now making good on that promise, because he's up the inside of Richard Baxter now for the race lead, going down towards the tight right-hander at Brooklands. And really, there was not much point in Baxter fighting that. He knows that Luff is quicker than him, and as long as he stays in those top 5 positions, he will get promoted to the final A race, and that will do him very nicely. He'll try and tag along, though, with Matt Luff here if at all possible. In fact, scrap that, he's attacking for the race lead again, so Baxter not content with settling into second place, wants to make a race of this, and that's good on him. We want to see a battle at the front of the field. I sense, though, that if Luff can get his head down here and stretch his legs, he should be able to pull away. But with this being such a high-speed circuit, the slipstream does help keep everybody quite closely bunched together. So if Baxter can just stay in the tow and follow Matt Luff around, he may just be able to pick up a few tips, actually, from Luff, find out where he is quicker than him. He wasn't massively quicker than him in qualifying, in fairness, so, there's definitely potential here for Baxter to improve. Baxter was 20th on the grid for the first A race, Luff 17th, so they're only a couple of tenths apart in qualifying. Scott Leach behind them, dropping away slightly in third now. David Turton in fourth, and is it still Muddlestone fifth? It is, but he's got Alan Hawkins breathing down his neck, I spotted in the background there. Baxter is now starting maybe to slip away from Matt Luff, and in fact Scott Leach there with a nice tight line through the final part of the S's. He's looking ever more menacing in that third position. A bit wide though there of the apex, and that could bring Dave Turton onto his tail. Indeed it has. Dave Turton closer to Leach now, I'd say, than Leach is to Baxter. Down the back straight then through Woodlands once again. This flat out kink where the rallycross circuit rejoins the tarmac. We saw one or two of them rally crossing at that part of the circuit in the previous race as well. No such dramas though for Matt Luff in this one. He's stretching his legs now, and as long as he doesn't run into any mechanical issues or make any mistakes, victory could well be coming his way. There's a change for fifth though in the background, look, because Alan Hawkins has gone past Charles Mugglestone, but they're both slow off the corner, and they could both lose a position here, I think, down towards turn number 1, and indeed they will do, because Graham Rumsey goes through up the inside of both of them and into 5th position. So again, Alan Hawkins briefly is into the top 5, and then something always seems to go wrong, doesn't it? And he's back down into 6th now. Mugglestone down to 7th. Nick Ledoyen is there in 8th position. But Graham Rumsey there, the white, grey and red car, number 45, one of the Masters contenders as well for some of the slightly older drivers in the field. And he's one of the top Masters actually in this race. Scott Leach is the leading Masters driver. Oh, and Charles Mugglestone mugs, rather, Alan Hawkins there as he comes through the S's. That was a nice move for Charles. The inside line, nice and clean, bit of a block pass, but that's the move you've got to make really into the S's. And so Alan Hawkins briefly was into 5th, he's now down to 7th a couple of corners later. That's how quickly your fortunes can change in this really competitive championship. He's on the grass now, and that won't help his speed down the speedway straight. And so Nick Ledoyen now comes up to attack, and then look who's coming. The black and yellow car, number 3, is that man Richard Wootton from the back of the grid, one of 5 non-finishers in the first B race. He's by far the one that's recovered the most in this second B race. He's on the inside of Clive Chisnall now, and he's not a million miles away from a promotional spot. So Richard Wootton, he didn't quite make the move stick on Chisnall, so we're going to have to regroup now and close back in. But keep an eye on Richard Wootton, he's really impressing me in this one. Rest of the field stream through. This is the fight between Dave Turton and Scott Leach. This is for 3rd place, and Turton is ahead now. So Dave Turton in the number 30 MCR car is ahead of Scott Leach, and now sets off after Richard Baxter. As I said, based on qualified performance, you would have guessed, in a way, that it would be Turton and Luff fighting at the front of the field, but all 4 of these did initially have the pace to qualify in the A group, so no real surprise to see them fighting for the top 4 positions in this second B race of the weekend. Turton turns through Brooklands, right over the edge of the road. You can see the novice cross on the back of his car. Not bad for a relative racing rookie, this, for Dave Turton, running in a podium position now. May only be a B race, but hey, you still get to go on the podium. You still get the thrill of fighting for a top position in a race, and that's one of the many joys of this split grid format used by the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship. Even if, ordinarily, imagine if we had a field of 40 or 50 cars all on one grid, apart from the fact that most circuits in the UK won't allow that, but if they did, for argument's sake, then these drivers would regularly find themselves fighting for positions in the mid-20s, maybe even early 30s, whereas in this format, they do at least have something to shoot for that is, worth something, essentially. A race victory, a podium, promotion to the A races later on. It's a really nice format. Here's Nick Ledoyen, scrapping away still with Charles Mugglestone. Through Hatchett's Hairpin down towards the right-hander at Spitfires. This is the fight then for 5th position. because Graham Rumsey has fallen back down the order now. So there's Rumsey ahead of Hawkins, but he was 5th last time we checked in with this group. So Nicola Doyen now has the final transfer spot, and Charles Muddlestone going with him. And actually they're pulling away slightly now from the next group of cars behind. Poor old Alan Hawkins, every time he gains a place, seems to lose 2 or 3 in the next lap or so. Graham Rumsey sort of suffering the same sort of fate now as well. Clive Chisnall there, the silver and green car with the orange wheels. Number 74 is not far behind them either. So plenty to still be debated here. Charles Muddlestone clambering the curbs through the S's as Hawkins is looking up the inside now of Rumsey and goes through. Nice move into Brooklands. Can he keep it on the island on the exit? Just. In fact, it's Rumsey that gets 2 wheels on the grass, and so Hawkins will make the move stick. So 7th place now belongs to the 722 car of Alan Hawkins. As they race back across the start-finish line, Alan has yet to have a top 5 finish actually in the B races. He missed out on a promotion spot in the first B race at Brands Hatch by 1 position. He was 6th place, missed out on a promotion spot, albeit by about 6.7 seconds. He was behind the top 5, but still, he's there or thereabouts all the time, and that pretty much sums up this race, doesn't it? Because he's been there or thereabouts on the fringes of the promotional spots, the same true of race 1B, and just can't quite solidify it, can't quite get himself a position inside the top 5 and make it stick. Dave Turton, though, has got 2nd place and made that stick. He's got himself ahead of Richard Baxter now, so he's into P2, Baxter down to 3rd, Leach 4th. It's all been fairly calm at the front, despite the fact we have had overtaking manoeuvres being made. It's been more or less just quicker drivers coming through past those that ordinarily you would not necessarily expect to see them be able to keep ahead of anyway. Having said that, Richard Baxter with impressive pace in this race. So too Scott Leach, who's had a quiet affair in 4th position, but he's staying with these 3. And again, this is a good chance for some of these sort of perennial B-grid drivers to learn maybe from some of the best. And when we have a situation like we had at Brands Hatch, for example, where John Langridge, overall championship contender, had a non-finish in race 2A, was on the B grid then for race 3. It's a rare chance for some of these drivers to race with some of the real front runners. Richard Baxter, though, taking the fight here to Dave Turton, goes back through into 2nd position. So, good move that. I'm surprised in a way Dave Turton didn't defend. He clearly felt that Baxter was too far back to attack, but that wasn't the case. And now goes up the inside line into DeBenny, though, and that was a brave move. And he brings Scott Leach through with him as well. So, Scott Leach into 3rd place. But I'm not quite sure what was going on there, because Richard Baxter had done the hard work and made the move stick down in towards the 1st corner, and then 2 corners later just left the door wide open and let Turton back through. It's now Scott Leach in the other blue car, the blue and yellow car that's on his tail, and looking to try and get to the inside through the S's, but Turton has that one covered. Baxter therefore takes advantage of the loss of momentum for Leach. He's back up the inside for 3rd, and he's going to go through. So, having just said this has been a fairly calm race for the top 3 or 4 drivers, they're now doing everything they can to prove me wrong, because they've changed positions 2 or 3 times now in the space of half a lap. It settles out for the time being with Turton 2nd, Baxter 3rd and Leach in 4th. Through the kink again at Woodlands. Richard Baxter's car, very well turned out machine, isn't it? A nice distinctive grey livery with the grey wheels as well. There's Matt Luff, though. He's already lapping cars. He's up the inside there of Adam Tyrrell, another one of the Masters contenders in the number 34 car. He looks like he's going to be the 1st car 1 lap down. I can tell you, by the way, that William Hayden, we saw him have that grassy moment earlier on down at the S's. Oh, back to that in a moment, because there's a car off and spinning nearly back into the road. Now, they still can't quite find the tarmac. There we go. And who is that then that's just had a moment? It's number 20. That's Christopher Ginn, who's been off coming out of Brooklands. And that was a very spectacular moment. I will get back to my point about William Hayden in a moment, but for the time being, let's focus on the racing action, because Nicola Doyen's lost ground, and so has Charles Muddlestone. So he and Charles Muddlestone were both ahead of Alan Hawkins and Graham Rumsey, and they're now both behind them. So I reckon Hawkins there is back into 5th place now, with 6th position for just there, Graham Rumsey, and then Ledoyen and Muddlestone have dropped back, so we didn't see what happened there. They've been reeled in now as well by Oliver Robinson and the number 3 machine of Richard Wootton, so Richard now sniffing a chance to get into the top 5. He's the black car just out of shot. Just there he is, you see, with the yellow stripe down the middle, the yellow wheels as well. He's going up the inside of Oliver Robinson down towards Brooklands. I've never seen so much overtaking in my life into Brooklands corner as I've seen in these B races today, and he will go through. Robinson tried to shut the door, instead focuses on getting a better exit from the tight right-hander, and he might just have got his nose back up the inside line. Novice cross on the back of Richard Wootton's car. but he's showing good pace here despite his relative inexperience, right in the thick of the battle. For second place, Richard Baxter is up the inside of Dave Turton again and goes back into second, and Scott Leach thinks, I'll have a bit of this, tries to get back up the inside of Turton, and let's see whether or not Baxter can hang on to this on this occasion, because he very briefly was back into second earlier on, only to hand the position back away 2 corners later. Well, that hasn't happened on this occasion, and if anything, Turton's had a bad run through Spitfires and DeBenny and is dropping back. They both dive up the inside of the 34 of Adam Tyrrell to put a lap on him. Sideways for Baxter. Turton defending busily from Scott Leach. I think that Scott, unless he gets a really good exit from the S, is going to have to settle into 4th for now. Looks to the inside, but no, not quite close enough to pull off that move into Brooklands. Right, quickly, before anything else happens, I'll make my point about William Hayden. We saw him go off early on onto the grass. We know that he had that soft brake pedal. The point I was making is that he's now retired the car. He's pulled into the pit lane and he's out of the race. So unfortunately, number 65, William Hayden, who had a good shot at getting himself back onto the A grid, with a promotion spot, unfortunately, it looks as though those brake issues have hampered him enough to put him out of the race. He is, though, the only retirement at the moment. So despite the typically frenetic nature of these B races, we have had far fewer retirements thus far in this one than we had in race number 1B. Side by side again for second place, and they're both going up the inside of the 46 of David Rickards, and through will go Baxter, Willie. Turton, sorry, trying to get the place back here. He's up the inside towards Spitfires. No, he's not. Baxter hangs on. So Richard Baxter really is taking the fight to Turton here, and Scott Leach with them as well. I reiterate the point there, they don't need to take any risks here. They're second, third and fourth, that's more than enough to put them in a promotional spot, and they're a country mile ahead of anybody else. And by a country mile, I mean over 20 seconds, which is a mammoth gap in MX-5 racing terms over 5th position. So they're not really in any danger of losing a top 5 position unless they start driving into each other or running off the road. And whilst there's not been any contact that we've seen yet, they are starting to get rather more energetic in their battling. We're into the final third of the race now as well, but this is my point. There's podium positions up for grabs here, and any self-respecting racing driver out there will go for the podium, even if they don't really, strictly speaking, have to. The next 2 cars there are back markers, that's Rickards and Tyrrell, and then we wait and we wait and we wait and we wait and we wait, and about 20 seconds later there, Graham Rumsey appears now in 5th position, so Rumsey is ahead of Alan Hawkins again. Mugglestone is 7th, Nick Ledoy in 8th, Oliver Robinson 9th, and then somewhere Richard Wooden, excuse me, has dropped lots of ground. He's lost a position and he's several seconds behind this group. Hawkins back up the inside here with Rumsey into the final corner. They're exchanging this 5th position almost lap by lap, and back through has gone Hawkins, but they're both slow off the corner, and so Charles Mugglestone now will get in the tow. Rumsey goes up the inside, Hawkins on the outside line. Where does Mugglestone go in all of this? He goes to the inside as well, and Alan Hawkins, we've seen this before, haven't we? He's into 5th place, which means it's about time he lost some positions, and back through goes Rumsey, and I think that Mugglestone's going to get up the inside towards Spitfires as well. It's side by side between Ledoy and Robinson behind them as well. Contact, Mugglestone over the grass, he's sideways, Hawkins hangs on to it though. He's got the inside line for DeBenny, but right around the outside goes Mugglestone. Fantastic racing there between the two of them. Charles Mugglestone would not be beaten there, and he goes back ahead of Alan Hawkins into 6th position. Rumsey locking up in 5th, but he's pushing hard because he sees his opportunity now to pull away from everybody else and secure this final transfer spot. And some of the best racing we've seen all weekend long has come from these battles to be 5th in the B races. They often are intense because there's so much riding on it. And we've got 5 drivers here, all after 1 position. And only 1 position that matters, really. Hawkins out wide there as Mugglestone, I think he was trying to go around the outside of Mugglestone there, but Mugglestone holds on to 6th. Then Hawkins 7th, Ledoy in 8th, Robinson 9th, 10th position. Look in the number 43 car. That's a new car now that's joined in front. That's Joseph Wilmot from the back of the grid. So he and Richard Wooden shared the back row of the grid, and they're both inside the top 10 now, and within touching distance of a top 5 overall. But it looks like Rumsey is now pulling away because they're really starting to trip over each other behind him for 6th place. The black car is in 6th place at the moment. That's Charles Mugglestone, but he's defending the inside line. Hawkins to the outside line. Can he cut back, or is Nick Ledoy going to fill the space? No, he's not. So positions stay as they are, he says tentatively. Maybe not. Yes, they are all still in the same order. They're all still absolutely nose to tail, though. And Mugglestone slows. Charles Mugglestone all of a sudden loses pace coming through Spitfires and loses 6th place as a result. Now, that could have been a missed gear. Let's hope it wasn't anything more sinister. The car just didn't doesn't really seem to accelerate properly through the corner. Ledoyen's now attacking him, look, but Mugglestone only a couple of laps ago was looking good in 5th position, and now it all changes again. Richard Wootton, meanwhile, attacking Joseph Wilmot, and he's going to go around the outside through the second part of the S's and makes the move stick. So Richard Wootton, the black and yellow number 3 car, continuing this brilliant progress. He obviously had a moment somewhere just as he caught the back of this group on the first occasion about 3 or 4 laps ago, because he dropped several seconds behind them, but good speed from Richard, and maybe an excess in battling for the cars in front means that he's bridged the gap again, and he's now on the tail of Ollie Robinson going through the kink at Woodlands. There is your race leader, but no, it's not your race leader, is it? Because there in the background is the battle for 5th, so that's the back marking car, isn't it, of David Rickards. Then 5th position, the white, grey and red car of Graham Rumsey. Is he being reeled in by the cars behind? I don't think so. The 34 car's going a lap down, so the black car on the right-hand side of the screen is a lap behind everybody else, trying desperately to stay out of their way. Oh, Hawkins runs out wide, Mugglestone up the inside, Wootton's on the grass as well. It's all kicking off again at the first corner, and Mugglestone's back past Alan Hawkins. This is some of the best racing I've seen for an awfully long time. They're fighting over 6th position, but they're all falling over each other to try and get back onto turns with Graham Rumsey, who is laughing inside his helmet, I'm sure, seeing all the shenanigans going on behind it, because he's just pulling away further from them, corner by corner. Ledoyen's up the inside of Hawkins now, who just can't catch a break in this race. Robinson up the inside of Ledoyen, changing again by the corner. One driver looks like he's going to gain a position one corner, and then it doesn't work, loses momentum, and then straight away there's another driver behind applying the pressure, and it's Oliver Robinson who will come out of that the best. He gains a position. Ledoyen, so eager to try and get the switch back out of Brooklands, almost loses control of the car completely. Oh dear, Wootton's on the grass again. It's been a stressful race this for Richard Wootton, and I'm sure his family and friends watching on from the sidelines are feeling the stress levels too. He's been so close to getting into that top 5, and it's just not quite going to work. So too though as Alan Hawkins, who's back up the inside of Charles Mugglestone. Oh, what a shame, we're on to the final lap of the race. Someone hide the checkered flag. What a spectacular battle this has been. It's now looking increasingly unlikely that any of these drivers will get into a promotional spot, but they've had the race of their lives to try and get there, and Oliver Robinson is into 6th position now. How did he do that? Went past Mugglestone and Hawkins down the pit straight. Ledoyen's there as well. 3 abreast into Spitfires. This won't work. Something has to give. Typically in Mazda MX-5 racing, no one gives, and so I think Alan Hawkins may have just found himself hung out to dry, almost on the grass. There's Oliver Robinson, the 49 car, maybe now making a break in 6th. Yes, he is, from Mugglestone 7th, Ledoyen 8th, Hawkins 9th. Don't count out Joe Wilmot yet. He's back ahead of Richard Wootton now. Mugglestone and Ledoyen side by side. Mugglestone comes out on top. I don't think I've breathed for about 20 minutes. This has been fantastic racing. Missing out on all the fun, though, are our front runners, and it will be Matt Luff, who I believe has already taken the checkered flag. So he was 18 seconds clear of anybody else. Dave Turton is 2nd, Scott Leach is 3rd, Richard Baxter comes home in 4th position, and now we wait for there. Graham Rumsey comes home in 5th, and what a hard 5th position it was as well. 6th is going to go to Oliver Robinson, and then everybody else is 2nd. They're 3 abreast. 7th, excuse me, 7th, side by side across the line. Charles Mugglestone gets it in 7th, Alan Hawkins 8th, Richard Wootton 9th, and Nick Ledoyen 10th. Well, that is a prime example of how a result sheet does not do justice to the race. If you just looked at that results sheet and saw that Matt Luff took the victory by 18 seconds, you'd think that was a dull and processional affair. But it was anything but. Some of the best racing I've seen for a long time there, and more of the same in race 3 later on.
Matt, you ran away with that. In fact, you didn't just run away with that. That was an 18-second lead.
Well, I mean, from the start, it was sort of a lights the flag victory for me. I mean, we got a bit of a rough start. I fell back, I think, 2 or 3 places. But from then on, I just kept my head down and kept pushing. And yeah, I mean, we got the win, so we can't ask much more.
Obviously, back in the A group. You were originally in the A group, you got DNF, so are you excited to be back in there? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, qualifying was good. We had great pace, P2. So, you know, we was right up there. And then, unfortunately, in the race, we had an engine issue, caused it to overheat. So, we was in the B race for this one. But I think, you know, the pace we showed in that race, we could definitely be up there in the A race. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're expecting big things with that much of a lead. So, how's the car handling in the heat?
It's all right. It's not bad. Of course, that race was in the morning, so it's a bit cooler. It wasn't too bad. But, you know, in the afternoon, it really gets quite hot. You can really start to feel the tyres slipping towards the end.
Right, OK, well, thank you very much, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Cheers, appreciate it.
Dave, you've got to be thrilled. Not only the fact you've got to race at Pembrey for the first time, you're on the podium and your first ever podium.
Yeah, what a fantastic result. Thanks to Mike Comber and all the guys in the team who've been training me up over the last 6 months of track days. Yeah, it's my 4th ever race in a car, and I was loving every second.
Good. So obviously you're going to be back in the you're going to be back in the A race this afternoon. How do you think you manage?
I think I'm going to come top 10 and definitely beat Tom Smith.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. We will let you go and enjoy that well-deserved ice cream, and we'll see you in the A race this afternoon.
Thank you, Lyndsay. Thank you.
Scott, what a phenomenal race for you.
Yes, it was really exciting, very close. I think the first one got away, and then it was 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and we were dicing all the way, and I was sitting in 4th for probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 laps from the end, and then I managed to get into 3rd, and then I seen the last lap and I thought, I'm defending this is my 3rd, and managed to keep it to the end. So yeah, fantastic race.
How was it defending and attacking all at the same time?
Well, once I went into defence mode, I couldn't obviously get onto attack for the one in front, but yeah, you just got to watch them coming down the inside, and you're always watching your mirrors. But yeah, it was good. Enjoyed it racing. It was clean, which is fantastic.
Perfect. Were you back in the A race this afternoon? How's the car handling?
The car's a little bit underpowered. I think there's something wrong with the engine, but apart from that, it's handling all right. It's just trying to keep up with them. They can pull away from me down the straights, but that's it. That's life.
Well, congratulations again from us, and we will see you this afternoon.
Thank you very much.